the world, we just sort of broke it up into the so-called democratic West and the so-called communist East. The Soviets wanted to rule the world according to their ideology, and we in the West wanted to rule the world according to our ideology. And they were always trying to kind of get these countries that were aligned with us to align with them, and we were trying to get the countries that were aligned with them to align with us, because it's really about power. All these countries started moving to the West. So the countries that were formerly connected to the USSR, like Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Slovakia, Czech Republic, Romania, Bulgaria, they start aligning with the West. The Soviet Union, which is now just really becomes Russia, becomes really weakened. And so Russia has the idea that this is Ukraine right here, one of the key states. Well, at least we're going to hang on to this one. Russia took the next step and said, no, we're actually going to invade now. And now there's a battle for Ukraine. And the Ukrainians are responding. And it's a serious war. And it's very serious because Russia has a lot of nuclear weapons. And the West has a lot of nuclear weapons. And there's a lot at stake. Okay? So the first person we're going to talk to is somebody in Russia. And you can unmute, by the way. This is Sasha.
My name is Nestor, and I am a chemistry major, and I moved here from Ukraine around 9 years ago, and I started living here.
Can we bring Taras in? Okay, tell him welcome to Soch 119.
Він вас запрошує до нашого класу.
Доброго вечора. Доброго вечора викладачам.
This is Camilla. I've been working with Camilla for, I don't know, maybe 8 years. I think we met 7 or 8 years ago. But I circled her shoes because she's always wearing cool sneaks. And she works at the War Studies University in Warsaw. So how'd you get here? Like, why'd you come here?
So we moved around a lot, but like finally I moved here around like 9 years ago. I started going to middle school, and I knew a little bit of English, but it wasn't enough. Like people were talking to me. It just went in one ear into the other, and I didn't understand anything. So after a couple months, I was able to like slowly start talking, and I moved a couple of times.
So you're here. Your parents are here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my parents are here. It's just my grandma, my immediate family is here. The rest of my family is in Ukraine.
And they're in Kyiv or?
Lviv.
Yeah?
Lviv, it's a western
Lviv,
part near
yeah.
Poland.
Hey, so I want to show you a couple things. In your next slide, you mentioned this Pysanky. You mentioned these eggs in your piece. Like you said that you miss about your culture, right? Can you just say what these are? Because we're coming up on the...
So Pysanky, during Easter, it's like a tradition where people gather and start drawing different designs like those by using paint and wax. So first you dip your dye egg. You choose a color, you dip it in a dye, and then you start drawing whatever you want using the wax. And then once you don't want that color no more, you hold it to a fire, and then that wax goes away, and that color stays, and you keep dipping the egg into different types of dyes and make different types of designs like those.
And you do this at Easter.
Yeah.
It's cool, man. They're really cool. Yeah, I mean, they're beautiful. It's a thing. Like we, in the West, here in the U.S., we dye Easter eggs, but nothing like that. Hey, and what I want to say is, can you go to the next slide? So this is St. Michael's, is that right? In Kyiv? It's like Ukrainian Orthodox Church, right? Connected to the Greek Orthodox and Russian Orthodox Church. But like it's just, so you are Ukrainian, are you Ukrainian Orthodox?
Yes, I am.
Yeah? What's your core belief?
I believe in God, and it's similar to Orthodox. And
Yeah. How do you guys feel about, it's like this church was built 1,000 years ago, right? The original structure. It's really intense going into a lot of the churches there.
Yeah, a lot of the cities in Ukraine are super old architecture.
Yeah.
And once the war started, they like send missiles, they destroy really old architecture that was built like really long time ago, and they don't care no matter what. They destroy everything, and
So you're talking about the
Yeah, I'm
Russians
talking
in the
about
war.
the Russians.
Yeah, like when you destroy, this has not been destroyed. I think it is not been bombed. But when you bomb buildings like that, first off, it's a crime against humanity. It's the crime against the Geneva Conventions on the Conduct of War. That you can't bomb civilian targets in this way. But it happens.
yeah, there's especially like at the beginning of the war, I seen a story where they wrote like really big letters on the floor saying there's kids and families in this building, don't bomb it. And guess what they did? They bombed that building, and a lot of people died. The Russian army, they don't care.
But when we say they, though, what's really important
Russian
is...
army.
Yeah, no, exactly. And even the Russian army, there were a lot of soldiers who have to go fight. Like, they don't want to go fight. And so you have so many
they're
people...
forced to. And if they don't, they get threatened.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't want to, some do. I personally don't know. That's what I believe.
Yeah, no, and human beings are human beings around the world, right? That's why I wanted to start by having you meet Sasha for a moment to understand that these aren't like, and unfortunately you couldn't see Sasha, but like it's really important that this is what life is. Hey, so speaking of that, so next slide. So this is your grandmother, right?
Yeah.
She's back home. And what's interesting what you said, and this goes to bombing civilian targets, because this is a wood stove that she just installed in her house.
Yeah, it was recently. So since like the power went out a lot, and sometimes there was no heat. If there's no power, you cannot heat up the house. So during winter, it was like getting cold.
Yeah.
Whenever they hit the electrical stations, the power went out. So recently they had to install a furnace in the house, so just to heat up the house just in case if the power goes down.
So this is one of the things about war that people, and I asked him for a photo of his grandmother and and he sent this stove also, because this is the kind of stuff in war that we don't think about. This is the everyday part of a war, and the ways in which our human lives. It's not, when we think about war, how many people die, how many people are wounded. We don't think about the psychological trauma. We don't think about these little tiny simple things, like when the country, and now mind you, we in the United States bombed civilian infrastructure in Iraq, and we bombed civilian infrastructure in lots of places where we have invaded. Okay, so this is not like, and what the Russians are doing in Ukraine, we have done that in other countries. Okay? So this is not just like the Russians are bad and we're all good, all the rest of us. So, we do that. And then, the Iraqis have to go out and buy wood stoves or buy some way to maintain their lives. But this was just one, I think, with your grandma that's really provocative.
Yeah, besides soldiers, like fathers have to leave their families to go to war. And I have my cousin that is worried about my uncle. We're going to see shortly a short video. I'm going to translate what he said. But a lot of families have their fathers, brothers go to war, and they have to worry about them not dying. And
Dude, their mothers and their sisters.
They're not just...
Yeah. That's what's also so really notable. Here, so let's do that video. So this is your uncle, right?
Yeah.
So Nestor's uncle, he's a performer, right?
Yeah, so whenever he retired, he became an actor, but he served in the military for most of his life. He mentions it in a video from 1991 to 2017. He served in the military and retired. And after he decided, after the army, to pursue his childhood dreams, which he became an actor.
So his name's Roman, right?
Roman.
Yeah. So listen, can you say what he's saying in the video? We're going to keep the volume off because that way we can put it on the stream without getting kicked off. What's he saying in this?
Hear it, but I
Oh.
know what
You know what he's saying? Yeah.
Kinda what he said. So basically, in this video, he just started talking about what I just mentioned, that he served since 1991 till 2017, and then he retired. After he retired, he decided to become an actor because he always dreamed of becoming an actor. And he also mentions that whatever you dream of, you're able to pursue it as long as you put in the work.
And so this is like him in a... Yeah.
And he became a main actor for this theater show that was this, that he acted, and he was a main actor. And then after...
Go ahead.
Right here.
Oh, wait, go ahead. Turn it back up. Yeah. Turn it up a little bit.
So after he retired, he also became a singer for Odessa band. It's one of famous like bands in Ukraine. And then the scene's going real well, and then here comes the war, and now he has to go back and serve. And here's him cheering up the people in the basement, hiding from the... Like overnight, he sang for them and played songs to cheer up the soldiers.
And so that's like him in the trenches, right, with other soldiers, and saying, and singing and like bringing up morale and stuff. I mean, it's intense. So the idea here is that in the United States, you know, a lot of people who are really into guns, and they have this idea, you know, a lot of people are going to have guns and we're going to protect ourselves, and if we ever get invaded, we'll have guns and we'll all go out and start these militia armies, and we'll do whatever we have to do, right, to protect the land and ourselves and our homes and so on. That's what's going on in Ukraine. And this is like people are just jumping in. People who were soldiers, people who are not soldiers, people who have never been trained, people who have never held a gun before, have no idea, never shot a gun before, are getting weapons and going out and fighting in this war. And all of this is just happening, just ongoing, right? So I think that short video with your uncle is one of these examples, like, damn, man, how this really just takes over.